This is the Pythagorean Theorem and Angle Relations Review for 8th grade. Number 1. In the figure below, line BC is parallel to DE, and measurement of angle M, the measurement angle CBD equals 60. So CBD equals 60. These lines are parallel. What is the measurement of EDB? So I want to know, what is this measurement? Okay, well, since we know that these line segments are parallel, that means that this angle will also be 60. And we know that a straight line totals 180. So what's my missing piece? 180 minus 60, and you should get 120 degrees. Number 2. In the figure below, angle X is 35 degrees. What is the measure of angle Z? I want to know, what is this angle? Okay, but look what it is telling us. That this is an isosceles triangle. These marks right there let you know that it is an isosceles triangle. So what do we know about an isosceles triangle? These two lines measure the same, so these angles will also measure the same. We also know that all angles that make up a triangle, when they unfold, add up to 180 degrees. So if I know this angle, X, is 30 degrees, I can subtract that and I'll get 145 degrees. But that 145 is what's left to make these two angles. And since it is an isosceles triangle, you're going to divide that by 2. So each angle, Z and Y, should be 72.5 degrees. H. Number 3. In the figure shown, lines 1 and 2 are parallel. Okay, so here's our lines, and they are parallel. The sum, there is a key word right there, vocabulary. The sum of the measures of angles 3 and 8 are 200. So with this being sum, that would be 3 plus 8 of the angles are going to equal 200. And we know that they're adjacent, so I need to divide by 2 to get 100. So angle 3 and 8 are 100 degrees. Which means, since those are parallel lines, 1 and 6 are 100 degrees. But what is the measure of angle 2? Okay, so what is angle 2? Well, if I know that this was 100, and again, measurement of a line is going to equal 180. So you take 180, subtract 100, and your answer would be 80 degrees. And that would, all of those would be 80 degrees. Number 4. triangle PQR and let's see, triangle RST, and two angle measures are shown below. Line segment QT intersects the line segment PS at point R. What is the value of X? Okay, so I need to find out what this angle is, and that gives me my X angle. So remember, all angles in a triangle add up to be 180. So let's add these two up. So if those two angles add up to be 120, but I know all three of them have to add up to 180, subtract the 120 and find that that is 60 degrees. Okay. Number 5. The drawing shows a part of the plan for a new underground lawn sprinkler system. Which is closest to the length of the section of plastic pipe from point A to point C? Okay, so we know it's a right triangle here. And we know with right triangles, we can use the Pythagorean Theorem, which would be label your sides, and C is always the longest side. So, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Well, this is 4 feet, this is 4 feet, and that should equal your C squared. So 4 times 4 is 16, or 4 squared if you want to say it. So 32 equals C squared. But I want to find the square root of 32 to find C. Okay, so we're actually just doing the square root, and then you'll find that C is approximately 5.7. Okay. Number 6. Mr. Carpenter built a wooden gate, as shown below. Which is the closest to the length in feet of the diagonal board that Mr. Carpenter used to brace the wooden gate? Here is the brace. Okay. Can we make a right triangle? If we use from this section to this section, this is a right triangle. And I know that from here to here is 6 foot. But look over here. It tells me from here to here is 1 foot, here to here is 1 foot. So if I only want to use this amount to make my right triangle, I need to say that this is 4 foot. Because the whole thing's 6, take off 1 on top, take off 1 foot on the bottom, leaves you with 4 feet. So again, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So we can list this one as A, this one as B, and this is your C. So 4 squared plus 3.5 squared is going to equal C squared. 4 squared is 16. 3.5 squared. It's 1225 equals C squared. Add that together, you should get 28.25, but we want to square it, and I believe C should be about 5.3. So number 7. When light waves hit water, the speed of light slows, causing the light waves to bend. This bend is referred to the angle of refraction. A fisherman shines a beam of light at the water from a distance of 12 feet from the surface. This light beam shines on a fish that is 16 feet from the angle of refraction. Determine x, the distance from the fish to the fisherman. Okay, so here is your triangle, and it is a right triangle. So if I labeled this side A and B and C, so A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay, and some of your copies are really, really dark. So as you can tell on mine, you can tell there's a fish here. This is your 16 feet side. Okay, if it's really dark, you still have your measurements there. So let's plug them in. 16 squared plus 12 squared equals C squared. 16 squared, 256, and 12 squared is 144 equals C squared. Add those together, you should get 400 equals C squared, and we want to find the square root, and you should get C equals 20 feet from the fisherman. Number 8. The Pythagorean Theorem states that in a right triangle, the square of the length of the hypotenuse equals the sum of the squares of the lengths of the legs. Which of these models support the validation of this theorem? Okay, so let's says draw another model that would support the theorem. Okay. So I'm not sure if she's wanting y'all to work every one of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 3. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one is actually supposed to have another one drawn on. 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's work with, all these seem to be very similar. Let's go with these. Okay, so let's kind of sketch out what it's wanting. My right angle. Okay, because remember, this only works on right triangles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm not really sure what she wants you to do here. I will draw this out for you. I think this has to do with the triples. that we talked about in class. Okay, so let's just say 15 and 12 and 9. Okay, so get with her in class on that one, but I'm having to think that has to do with your triples. Okay, number 9. The sides of squares can be used to form triangles. The area of the squares that form right triangles have a special relationship. Which set of squares would not, or which set of squares could not form a right triangle? You must show your work and prove your answer. Okay, I would say prove it by doing the Pythagorean Theorem on all of them, because we know it works only on right triangles. So every single one of them, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. 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 Okay, remember your longest side is always your c. So make sure that the biggest square, so this would be your hypotenuse. This would be c. So you need to prove which one of these could not form. So 3 of them will, 1 of them what? Will not. Which set of squares could not form a right triangle? So 3 of them should be correct and could not. Okay, so let's just say 12 squared plus 9 squared equals 15 squared. Prove that right or wrong. 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. Prove that right or wrong. 24 squared plus 7 squared equals 25 squared. Prove it right, prove it wrong. 5 squared plus 6 squared equals 9 squared. So the really important thing was to put your longest side as your C. And prove them right, prove them wrong. Okay, you have to show your work. Which set of squares could not form a right triangle? Number 10. Which figure best represents the triangle with sides A, B, and C in which the relationship a squared plus b squared equals c squared is always true? So remember, your A and B are always the legs, and then this is always your hypotenuse. Okay, so that has to make a perfect square. Okay, but remember this, A and B are your legs, and C is your hypotenuse. So C always has to be your longest side. Let's write that out bigger. C is always your longest side. Do not forget that. So look at the pictures and see which one is labeling it correctly. A, B has to be your legs. C has to be your hypotenuse, which is your longest side. So which one of these labeled them correctly? I know I've helped you too much already, so you're getting to do a little bit of work on your own. Number 11. The drawing below shows how 3 squares can be joined at their vertices to form a right triangle. What is the area in square inches of the largest square? So we're wanting to find the area. Area is length times width. Okay, so this is 14. But when I square 14 squared, okay, that should give me 196. And then this one is 900 inches. So what we've learned about when we played with those manipulative blocks in class, what did we learn about this area, that area, and this area? So with us figuring that out, you should be able to tell me what that area is. Because we played with our manipulative little blocks, and we moved their blocks from here over here. So hopefully you remembered that. Number 12. The three squares shown below are joined at their vertices to form a right triangle. What is the area of the shaded square? So same thing as we just did. We have the larger one. We know the area of it, okay? We know the side length of it. But to get the area, length times width, right? So 17 squared equals what? Because that's actually 17 times 17 centimeters. Because it's length times width to find the area. So we can say 17 squared. 17 squared is 289. So if I label this one 289 centimeters squared, you should be able to tell me what this is. We're doing just kind of the opposite of the problem number 11. Remember, we put the blocks from here to here, and they equal this. So if I take 289 blocks out of this, what does that leave me with? Okay. Number 13. Find the approximate distance between -3, 5, and -6, -7. So we have to plot them. So -3, -5, 1, 2, 3, oops, +5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and -6, -7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not an artist, but let's just add on here. And I believe we're going to have to add on a couple on down here too. Okay, so let's find this. -6, -7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are my plots. Okay. And let me see if I have a straight edge. I don't have a very good one, but we'll work with it. Okay, from this plot to that plot, oh look, it just fits. I want to find the distance between those 2 points. So remember, the Pythagorean Theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, works when there is a right triangle. Okay, so we need to make a triangle out of this. So if I bring this one all the way down and make a triangle, there's my right angle. So let's count the dots, or the units. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this one's 12 units. So we can label this A, we can label this B, and remember, your hypotenuse is always your longest side. So 3 squared plus 12 squared gets you c squared. Okay? You can work it out from there. Number 14. Find the missing side length to the following right triangle. Round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so the nearest tenth. So let's write a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But if you look, you're like, well, there's my a, there's my b, and there's my c. Please label it, because I don't want you to confuse what your legs are and what your hypotenuse is. Okay, because if you don't label it right, you can fill it in the formula wrong and you'll get it wrong. So we don't know what a squared is, but we do know what b squared, and that's going to be 18 squared, 24 squared. Okay? 18 squared, I believe, is 324. We're going to do that to a squared. And then 24 squared is 576. Check my math, guys, on your calculators. Okay, now I'm solving a one-step equation. That's all I'm doing. So instead of c being by itself, I want a by itself. So to solve for a, I need to cancel this side out. Whatever you do to this side, you must do to that side. So you have a squared equals 252. Now then, I want to know what a is. So just like we want to know what c is at the very end, you need to find the square root, and you will find your a. And it is approximately, and you are to round to the nearest tenth. Number 15. Miss Phillips has just purchased a new television that measures 28 inches diagonally and 18 inches on the side. She wants to buy a stand close to the same length as the bottom of the television. What length stand does she need to buy? So we have a TV. And she said 28 inches diagonally. So diagonally, she bought a 28-inch TV. And remember, Pythagorean Theorem works with right-angled triangles. And she said 18 inches on the side. So that means on the side is 18 inches. Doesn't matter what side. But we don't know how long the base is, the bottom. And she needs to know that because she wants to buy a table, a stand for it. So again, label your sides so you don't get confused. The legs of your triangle, A, B. Your hypotenuse is C. Always your longest side. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So A squared is what I'm finding. B squared is 18 squared, 28 inches squared. Okay? So you can solve that one. And remember, it's going to be the closest to. Because she wants to buy a stand for the TV. Number 16. Caroline exited the front door of the school and walked 9 meters south and then 12 meters west. If she walks directly back to the front door, how far will she have to walk? So again, she walked 9 meters south. So everyone knows north, south, and east, west. So if we're walking 9 meters south and then 12 meters Oops, sorry, that's west. This is east. Yes, I caught it. All right, so 12 meters west. So, I mean, it really didn't matter because the triangle would have measured, but you history buffs that love to read maps and stuff would get me on that one. So, 12 meters. But she wants to take the shortcut. And so, if she walks directly back to the front door, directly back, how far will she walk? So let's label the triangle. Remember, the longest side is your hypotenuse, so I'm going to label it C. A squared, B squared. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So 12 squared plus 9 squared should equal C squared. And you can finish it from there. Number 17. Find the distance between the 2 points on the coordinate plane. So kind of like we did on the other side. We need to do a straight edge from this side, this point to this point. And remember, the Pythagorean Theorem only works on right triangles. So we want to make a right angle. I want to draw all the way down and make my right angle. Now we can solve the problem using the Pythagorean Theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay, my longest side is my C. A, B. Really doesn't matter if this was A and this is B. It's up to you. But count your units over. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, plug that into your formula, and you'll have your answer. Approximately. Number 18. Which of the following correctly describes the square root of 5, square root of 16, and the square root of 169? We want to look for rational or irrational. Okay, so list each below. Okay, the square root of 16 is 4. The square root of 5 is going to be 2.23 dot, 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 dot. Okay, and the square root of 169 is going to be 13. Now then, that should help you list which one goes into rational, which one goes into irrational. But make sure you put the square roots over here where they go. Okay? Find each square root. Okay, square root of 81. Y'all know how to do this in your calculator. Most of you know that one without using a calculator. Okay, the square root of 64 16ths. Okay, so I'm not sure we really went over this in class or not, but the square root of 64 over the square root of 16. Try that. Okay, it's going to be an improper fraction because you can tell it's improper here. And so you'll have your answer here. Okay. 21. Estimate each square root to the nearest tenth. You must show work to prove it. Okay, so the square root of 120, well, we know the square root of 100 equals 10. And you can do it on your calculator, that's fine. But if you don't have a calculator, the square root of 100 is 10. So you know it's going to be more than 10. And if you know the square root of 121 is 11. So it's going to fall somewhere in between. And it's really, 120 is really close to 121. So do it on your calculator if you can. If not, show your work and show me a guess here, educational guess, and round up. Round to the nearest tenth. 22. Square root of 13. Well, I know the square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of 16 is 4. So it's got to be somewhere in square root of 13 will fall in the middle. If you have your, well, I guess because they're asking you to estimate, they're kind of wanting you to maybe not use the calculator, but, you know, I would use it. But this is how you're going to estimate, just to make sure you get that right. And like I said, round to the nearest tenth. Number 23. Solve each equation, round to the nearest tenth if necessary. Okay, so if I want to find what b is, remember, we just have to do the square root. And we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So square root c, square root that, and you'll have your answers. 25. Order from greatest to least. Okay, so to help me, I always do greatest to least. Okay, and I would go and find out, what's the square root of 1? That's 1. Okay, and then you have 5.9. Then you have 3. And then what is 7 3/8? Okay, well, 3/8. I like decimals instead of fractions, but 7 3/8 would be 3.75. Or you can leave it at 7 3/8 because I don't think we're going to have another 7. And what is the absolute value? Some of you actually asked me yesterday what those lines meant. That is absolute value. Absolute value of a negative 16 is 16. So there's your numbers. Okay. List those from greatest to least. So I would go over here and pick out which one is my greatest number. Is it 1, 5.9, 3, 7 3/8, or 16? The greatest number is going to be the absolute value of a negative 16. What is your least number out of all these? Which would be the square root of 1. They want your original numbers on this. So show your original numbers. And now go from there. Number 27. State whether the triangle with a given side measures is a right triangle. Mark A for yes and B for no. You must prove your answers. Okay? Remember Pythagorean Theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, because it only works on a right triangle. Remember, the longest side is always C. So 21 squared plus 28 squared, does that equal 35 squared? Same thing. Switch colors. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So my longest side is going to be my C. 13 squared plus 14 squared equals 15 squared. And prove those right or prove them wrong. And really be aware that they may scramble these numbers up. If she would have put 15 in front, you still have to notice, always go and find your C and then fill in the rest. Find your longest side, put it in your C, and then fill in the rest with the legs. If it's correct, then it is a right triangle, because this only works for right triangles. And that's it. We'll have the test tomorrow. If you have any questions, you can come in the morning around 7:30, or you can actually ask questions on Google Classroom. And it would be great if you would submit or comment or something to let me know actually who watched this video. Thanks.